So, thanks everyone for coming out today. I appreciate it. I have a question for you. How many of us use social media? All right, we all do to some extent. We all use a little bit of social media. And I realized the other day as I was going through my own social media that I was looking at my screen time and I realized I had an enormous amount of screen time. I had around 6 hours a day, which for me feels like a lot. That's approximately a third of my waking hours spent looking at my phone, which came as a surprise to me. I don't feel like I spend that much time on my phone, but I do. And so I was going through the data and I was looking at, well, what am I spending my time on? What am I looking at on my phone? And I realized as I was going through the data that my content that I was intaking tended to be on social media platforms that people were debating on, that topics that were controversial, or just people were talking about different ideas. That's where I was spending my time. And as I began to go through the different posts and began to go through the different debates and controversial topics that people were talking about, I realized that there seemed to be a common theme among the content that was being talked about. It wasn't necessarily a great theme either. It was a very negative one. In fact, we know it today actually as cancel culture. So we're going to define cancel culture a little bit for you and talk about a little bit about what it is. So cancel culture is defined as something as I have an opinion and I'm being rejected or ostracized or put down because of a belief that I have or something that I care about and I'm talking about. Now, to help illustrate what cancel culture is, I have a hypothetical, possibly funny story that I'd like to share with you. Mr. Potato Head. So Mr. Potato Head is a very famous individual. Most of us probably know him from Toy Story. And Mr. Potato Head absolutely loves pineapple pizza. Pineapple on pizza. Now, Mr. Potato Head cares so much about pineapple on pizza that he actually created a social media post about it, and he posted it expressing how much he just loves pineapple pizza. And within 10 minutes, he lost 10,000 followers and even received 37 death threats. It's a little extreme in my opinion, but it is what it is. That's what happened. And this would be a classic example of what cancel culture is. Someone is stating a belief and they are being pushed away. And what we see now is that Mr. Potato Head actually, he'd had enough of social media, and so he actually decided to delete all his social media posts. So he's now off, unfortunate for the children. Now, let's talk a little bit about where cancel culture comes from. So cancel culture tends to come from individuals who lack a sense of awareness or empathy for other people. And really what that is it comes down to a symptom of arrogance, thinking about yourself and not about other people. So how do we combat cancel culture a little bit? How do we fix it? Well, it really starts with thinking outside of yourself, thinking about other people and what they're thinking of and what they're doing. There's a group called Arbinger that teaches this concept of conflict management. They're very well known for it. And in one of their books called The Anatomy of Peace, they actually go into detail about 2 different things that you can do to begin to think outside of yourself. They are mindfulness and empathy. So as we begin to practice mindfulness and empathy, we really begin to start to understand what other people are thinking about. We're starting to put ourselves in their shoes and understand them. But it doesn't just stop here with this. We need to ask ourselves a couple questions, 2 in fact. One of them is, do I need to be right in this argument that I'm talking about? In this thing I'm talking about? Maybe it's not an argument, maybe it's just a conversation you're having. The other is it important that I am right? Perhaps sometimes it will be important that you're right. You're defending somebody. Perhaps not on other cases. Now, if we're looking back, it's important to understand where our opinions come from, why we talk about certain things in a certain way. And really what it comes from is the basis of how we form opinions. We as individuals form opinions based off the experiences we have. So let's take, for example, Mr. Potato Head again. Let's go back to this story. Now, thinking from the perspective of someone who unfollowed Mr. Potato Head. Let's think about this a little bit. So I've unfollowed Mr. Potato Head, and I did so because I disagree with his opinion that pineapple pizza is the best thing ever. Perhaps what I could have done instead is commented on his post and said, Mr. Potato Head, why do you like pineapple pizza? I don't like it. Why do you? And there might have been a chance that Mr. Potato Head would respond, and perhaps he would say something like this. Well, when I was young, my mom would put pineapple on pizza, and she has since passed away. And I eat pineapple on my pizza as a way to remember her. That's why I care so much about pineapple pizza. It means something to me. My experience has led me to have this opinion. Now, not everyone's going to have the exact same experience, so of course we're going to have different opinions. But how we communicate and how we talk to each other about those things brings a sense of unity and understanding. And as we begin to practice what Arbinger teaches, this mindfulness and empathy, as we begin to ponder the questions, do I need to be right? Is it important that I'm right? We begin to think outside of ourselves a little bit. And suddenly cancel culture is not as prevalent as it would be. Cancel culture stunts innovation. It stunts change. It stops us from spreading new ideas and understanding and experiencing things for ourselves. Maybe now that I understand Mr. Potato Head's reason for liking pineapple on pizza, maybe I'll go and try it. Maybe I'll like it this time, or maybe I won't. But what happens is that I've now changed. I've tried something new, and cancel culture stops that. And so I would like to invite you guys here today to begin to think outside of yourself. Begin to treat people, like they have experiences, like they have opinions. And I promise you that as you do so, as you begin to treat people like people, you yourself will begin to be treated with more respect and as a person. Treat people like people. Thank you.
Very good.